If you don't smoke crack, you ain't black, God bless it. Hey, look, Hunter Biden, he said, look, my daddy's got dementia, Alzheimer's. Look, man, we need to talk about this crack. We need to get this crack out here in the streets. We do. Hunter said, look, my daddy's going downhill. This is the time, man. Let me get my foot in this administration. God bless it. Hey. No, man, cut it out. Tuck. Let them make it talk.
We've got news for you this evening. Joe Biden, the president, has announced another piece of his highly promoted equity agenda. That's the government-wide effort to improve the lives of African Americans. You may recall that on his first day in office more than a year ago, the new president explained that equity will require determination and creativity. And this week, he proved that's true. Joe Biden's latest idea is to pay black people to smoke more crack. Going forward, the administration will send at least $30 million in tax money to nonprofits and local governments so they can purchase, quote, safe smoking kits and supplies. According to HHS, these kits will contain Joe Biden-approved pipes that will allow beneficiaries of the...
And they're trying to say, y'all, the left, the media, the mainstream media, they're trying to say that, like, that's false. They're trying to say that these kits actually don't contain these pipes, but it's literally proven that they do. I was listening to Tim Pool talk about it. Like, it's literally proven that they actually, like, they might not, like, anymore because, like, they're receiving so much flack, but for sure initially they did.
The equity agenda to smoke crack cocaine as well as crystal meth. Some say it's about time. Soros-aligned NGOs have long complained that marginalized groups in this country don't have adequate access to illegal narcotics or the tools to use them. With this new program, Joe Biden will finally close the crack gap. For too long in America, quality crack pipes have been the domain of rich white men like so much else. Here's the president's son, for example, smoking crack in bed at the Four Seasons. You'll notice the beautifully designed custom crack pipe. Its cooling bowl nestled in the high thread count Egyptian cotton sheets. When Hunter Biden smokes crack, he does it in style. But not everyone in this country is so fortunate. Try to toast some rock in West Baltimore sometime. You may have to make the pipe yourself from tin foil or a broken car antenna. Our inner cities are pipe deserts. Talk about the new Jim Crow. Bull Connor would be proud. Bull Connor didn't think black people deserved new crack pipes. Joe Biden's going to change that. Joe Biden understands how essential narcotics are to the future of his party. If Democratic voters stop smoking crack, they might start thinking for themselves and become Candace Owens or something. Can't have that. So it's new crack pipes for everyone. Unfortunately, this change comes too late for one Democratic Party icon. 30 years ago, crack addiction was still considered embarrassing, especially for elected officials. In some places, it was illegal. Here was the mayor of Washington, D.C., fervently pursuing the equity agenda before it even had a name. Back then, we just called it smoking crack.
That was a setup. Okay, I understand. Pay attention to what I'm going to read. Setup. Listen to your rights. Mr. Mayor, I should have come up here. Got up here with this. Set me up like this. Set me up. Ain't that a...
Marion Barry, ladies and gentlemen, a civil rights pioneer. He was fighting racism with that crack pipe, smoking away the vestiges of white supremacy and the colonialist patriarchal norms. If only we had recognized Barry's heroism at the time. A prophet is never honored in his own hotel room. To be fair, Joe Biden didn't honor Marion Barry either. Here's Joe Biden a year after the mayor's drug bust.
If you have a piece of crack cocaine no bigger than this quarter that I'm holding in my hand, $1/4 of $1, we passed a law through the leadership of Senator Thurmond and myself and others, a law that says if you're caught with that, you go to jail for 5 years. You get no probation. You get nothing other than 5 years in jail. Judge doesn't have a choice.
Me and Strom going to throw you in jail, boy. That was Joe Biden then. Now Joe Biden's giving out free crack pipes to black people. So maybe the lesson here is that real growth is possible. Sometimes wisdom really does come with age. Now you may be wondering as you watch all of this, hold on a second. Is the real drug crisis in this country really that crackheads don't have enough crack pipes? I seem to remember reading somewhere that more than 100,000 Americans died last year from opioid ODs. What are we doing about that? Well, good question. And the answer is nothing. We're not doing anything about that. Those 100,000 Americans weren't from officially marginalized groups. Their deaths have nothing to do with the equity agenda. In fact, their deaths may have helped the equity agenda by changing the demographics of the country in a way that benefits the Democratic Party. So as far as the Biden administration is concerned, it's not a bad trend. Sure, a lot of people died from opioids in Joe Biden's first year. In fact, the total body count was the equivalent of a significant American city, the entire population. Every man, woman, and child in, say, South Bend or Roanoke, Virginia. On the other hand, these are exactly the kind of people the administration hates anyway. So with equity in mind, the White House plans to continue allowing as much fentanyl as possible to come into this country through Mexico. Here's Fox's Bill Malugin reporting.
Illegal immigrants and drugs continue to spill across the border.
He's throwing bags.
In fiscal year 2021, CBP seized 11,201 pounds of fentanyl nationwide. That's enough to kill more than 2 billion people. The seizures are significantly up from seizures in fiscal years 2020 and 2019. The largest fentanyl bust in 2021 came in August in Otay Mesa near San Diego. That's where CBP recovered 127 pounds of the deadly opioid, which was being smuggled in a trailer driven by a Mexican national. It had a street value of $13 million.
You don't hear much about fentanyl use in the national news, so to give you a sense of just how quickly it's growing, the DEA's National Drug Assessment didn't even mention fentanyl, not a single time in 2013. Customs and Border Protection seized just 2 pounds of fentanyl over the entire year. Fast forward to last year. Customs and Border Patrol seized more than 11,000 pounds of fentanyl. That means the amount of fentanyl flowing into the U.S. has increased by 560,000% in less than a decade. What is Joe Biden doing about this? Well, he's encouraging more fentanyl use, of course. Yesterday, the Justice Department announced that it may allow government-sanctioned safe spaces to open around the country for people to inject opioids.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
And this, too, is part of the equity agenda. Intravenous drug users are, by definition, a historically marginalized group. Susan Rice is thinking hard about how to help them stay addicted. It's a matter of fairness. Let's say it's 4 in the afternoon and you want to shoot up fentanyl, but you can't find a syringe. If you're rich and white, it's an easy fix. You just call one of your housekeepers from the intercom in the pool house and you send her to CVS. You've got servants to help. But what if you're a junkie of color living on the sidewalk in San Francisco? How are you going to shoot up when you feel like it? You need Joe Biden's help. Done. Help is on the way. But what does that help look like in practice? Michael Schellenberger is one of the very few journalists who has bothered to find out. Schellenberger recently spoke to a man who was living on the street in San Francisco and asked the obvious question. How do you pay for your drug addiction? Watch.
Where are you from?
Alabama.
How long have you been on the street?
7 years.
Drug of choice?
Heroin.
What percentage of people are still using heroin versus fentanyl?
Oh man, 5% still use heroin, maybe.
What about meth?
Meth is just like a given mostly. You got to do something to counteract the downer, so people either do meth or crack.
What does it cost per day?
Between 40 and 80 bucks.
Okay.
To maintain.
What percentage of people on the street you say are from San Francisco originally?
From San Francisco originally, maybe 10, probably more like 6 or 7%.
How much does it cost to meet your habit?
They're looking at 60 bucks a day.
Has the price come down or gone up?
It's been like a race to the bottom in terms of pricing, to where a gram used to, even as little as 2 years ago, would have been $200. Now it's down to 15 or 20.
How do you make your money?
Petty crime.
Like what kind of stuff?
Boosting and getting in unlocked cars.
How do you boost?
You go in a store and put stuff in your bag and get out.
You learn a number of things from watching that clip, things you never hear anybody say. First, the drug crisis is a crisis. It destroys people's lives, your fellow Americans' lives. It's one of the worst things ever to happen in this country, and it's being completely ignored by the people running the country. The second thing you learn is that it's happening because drugs are cheaper than ever. In fact, fentanyl may be the only product that Joe Biden has made cheaper since becoming president. A gallon of gasoline, a pound of beef are much more expensive. Fentanyl's cheaper. And then you learn that homelessness is caused by drug addiction, and so is street crime. So if you're wondering why our cities are falling apart, it's pretty simple. Drugs. Drugs are the problem. So what has Joe Biden decided to bring us more of? Drugs. It makes you wonder.
Makes sense.
Candace Owens is the host of Candace. We're always delighted to have her on our show. She joins us now. Candace, thanks so much for coming on. So, I mean, I guess they can tell you they love you, but if they're encouraged...
Mrs. Owens. Look, y'all. Look. Now, these wokies, right? These lefties, they always talk about 45, right? 45 was so this, he was so racist, he was so this and that. If 45 was doing this, what would they be saying? Like, this, we are literally in the absolute smack dab middle of the Twilight Zone. You don't smoke crack, you ain't black. Good Lord, this is absolutely insane, man. This is absolutely insane. And I've seen some really like effed up content of people like poking and prodding at like homeless people and like doing pranks on. I don't do that, man. I treat homeless people with dignity, right? I try not to kick people while they're down. But look, the whole racial equity thing it's complete bullshit to begin with. Racial equity. And oftentimes, y'all, I imagine my life, right? I imagine my life if I believed all these lies. If I believe that I'm at a disadvantage in this great nation because I'm black, and my life would suck. Victim mentality, victim mindset, my life would suck. I wouldn't have all the things that I've been blessed to have. I would just be in a sunken place and just looking at every tuck. I'd be looking at tuck and being like, you're white, you're the problem. You're like, it's such like a loser thing to say. Oh, because this group of people is why I can't get ahead. That's such like, it's effeminate. Like for a man to say that, it's so feminine. And like usually when I hear people talk about saying all these negative things about whether it's the patriarchy or just, you know, white folks, and you dive into their background and it's like they're usually raised by a single mother. Okay, they're usually from a bad area, and they were just taught this from every way. Even though your cousin got killed by somebody that looked just like you, not the police, by somebody that looked just like you, the police are the problem. It's just this crazy brain dead dribble that I just thank God that my parents have more common sense than that. It's your favorite Texan here. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Stay away from these kits. Come on. Salute.